Hello everybody, Ben Rogers here, the Raptors Digest Riker. The rumblings have been heard throughout Raptors land, but we got an official report today, some crazy news. This news is big enough to break out the official segment, so we'll debut it here. That's right, massive news update, and Pascal Siakam, the Raptors' current number one option, is apparently available to be traded, right? I'll throw the report here up on the screen, and this is massive news for this team going into the draft with all the talks and reports coming up now. We got some chatter about Bradley Beal, Russell Westbrook. We're going to break those down on Courtside Digest, but what are your initial thoughts on the report that the Raptors are officially making Pascal Siakam available?
Ben, you just put Bradley Beal into my mind, and we're going to be doing a video on if they trade Russell Westbrook to the Lakers, could be bringing back a package which includes Dennis Schroeder. Therefore, Pascal Siakam could be a move to get Bradley Beal, which is what we've long discussed on this podcast, although wouldn't make sense with the 4 and 5. I just needed to get my little spiel base because it came to my mind, but I'm a little bit worried about repercussions if this actually gets tied back to the Raptors organization as a legitimate thing that they've said, if they've actively put him on the trading block, because you know how upset DeMar was when they didn't consult him before he was traded. I don't know if this would be a help or a hindrance for a player that is your number one option, know that he's on the trading block because he had a bad season.
Yeah, it's a tough thing to come out, because you and I have been both in the camp of, sure, we'll trade Siakam if we get a king's ransom for him, but we're not. Some of those fans are saying, "Oh, get rid of him. He's not a number one option. We have to move on from him immediately." Because we played the kazoos all season, and Siakam definitely played his part in the kazoo playing. But hopefully, he'll land a Suggs or Barnes or whatever. But Siakam, there are a lot of potential packages out there. We've broken down a few of them, specifically the Warriors trade. Should we just sound off the trade machine and get our ideas flowing if this is actually an official report?
Let's just start brainstorming and as much as possible, man.
Yeah, let's cook up the trade machine. Let's get it rocking. We'll get it fired up, and we'll get the trade everyone's heard about, everyone's seen out of the way, just to jump it off. But it's the first one. Pascal Siakam, right, to the Golden State Warriors for Andrew Wiggins, James Wiseman. I added Mulder in there, Canadian guy, a shooting guard, get some three-point shooting there. Riker, has your opinion changed, adjusted after the many's of videos we've recorded on this trade?
We've done it so many times, and I feel like my opinion changes each time. So I don't know what my most current opinion was, but right now it's, if you're looking to move on from Pascal Siakam, which I think you need to give him one more season to redeem himself or prove himself, no trade, I think, will be a trade up. If anything, it'd just be kind of lateral. This trade would be the same. Lateral, because you're trading away your number one option for a question mark at the center position, but maybe a step up in your center position. And then Andrew Wiggins, who he played himself in to be a positive asset, but a lot of people consider him a negative asset in the trade scenario. But you could have him at the 3, OG at the 4, and James Wiseman at the 5. So you're not in a worse position. So I go so back and forth on whether this makes sense.
Yeah, and the big thing about this trade is the 2 draft picks that would be added on top of it, the 7th and the 14th. Right, if Masai Ujiri sees some promising players, maybe Scotty Barnes falls to there, and we keep our 4th pick, we get Suggs, Barnes, and all of those guys. That makes it a lot more appealing than obviously just looking at Wiseman and Wiggins as the return. But again, those first round picks, even though they're valuable, even though you can get a lot for them, they're risky. They can be super hot or super cold, so you're reaching. But I trust Masai Ujiri in the draft, especially with such a high lottery pick. So that's our take. If you want to hear more about that sort of ransom, that return from the Golden State Warriors, literally watch any of our other videos, because we probably go more into depth. But that's probably the most likely destination for Pascal Siakam, the Golden State Warriors. Right? We've heard everything from our DMs to just looking at Reddit, Twitter. Right? I threw up one meme that was sent to us. Right? Luke Kennard and Marcus Morris Sr. sent to the Raptors in return for Pascal Siakam. Right? Just get the Clippers. They didn't win the chip this year. They need more Raptors players. get them Lowry, maybe Norm signs there as well, and they can have the whole 2019 team. But, you know, the rest of them haven't been reported, but there's been crazy thoughts thrown out there. What's your sort of reach that you'd like to sound off on this vid?
My like,
and again,
just what's a stretch?
We're not doing the Clippers trade, just so people don't roast me in the comment section. That's a trash deal.
Or if people just didn't pick up on the sarcasm that it was just meant because they seem to move up all Raptors players. If we're talking reach, what would I like to see happen would be Karl Anthony Towns.
Okay.
We both kind of were looking through the NBA team list and knowing you're probably not going to trade within the East if it's your number one option. You don't want another team to get better.
Yeah.
But if you're looking at the Western Conference, you're looking to probably not make a trade for a guard. You know, like Bradley Beal, I said at the beginning, it makes a lot more sense to trade, at least stay equal at the 4 spot, if not improve in the front court. And Karl Anthony Towns, he's a guy that's been rumored to be flirting with. 1 second he's the cornerstone of the franchise, one he's on the trade block. So I don't know. I don't know if it's impossible, but I'd like Karl Anthony Towns' return then.
Yeah, and obviously Bradley Beal and Damian Lillard, those are the two guys next up on, will they request a trade? Will they not? What's going to happen? And everyone's locked in on those guys. But I feel like Karl Anthony Towns is sort of the next wave of stars to be up on the trade demands. So definitely could be an interesting player to keep a lookout for. Obviously, Anthony Edwards has come in and shown he could be a viable, at least promising first option potentially for that team, right? Shows the potential there. And then obviously they have D'Angelo Russell coming back. My one reservation on the Wolves actually making that trade is they were really good at the end of the season when Russell and Edwards and Towns all played together. They were injured, they were decimated with injuries last season. So it's they had a very small sample size and it looked really good. So maybe they're just gonna try and run it back next season and see what can happen, because they did keep their first pick, I believe. Or did they lose it? No, they lost to the Warriors. So they're not even getting a draft player. Who knows what's going to happen with the Minnesota Timberwolves? They're just a team in the abyss. But I brought up two names there, right? We made a video on Damian Lillard a couple days ago, right? The night of the NBA draft, or the night of the NBA Finals. So didn't really pop off that much as we thought it might. But Damian Lillard, he's an interesting piece. We're obviously attached to Damian in the betting odds on the lower end of it. But you and I sort of brought up how it's possible the Raptors could potentially make a trade. We kind of lean towards keeping Siakam if we made a Damian Lillard move, but if Siakam's on the block, I don't think we have to give up nearly as much supplementary assets if you're going to acquire Damian Lillard in that package, if Siakam's in the trade.
But we are still in a tough spot where you already have Fred VanVleet. I guess you'd play him at the 2, you'd suck it up. But Gary Trent Jr., then I guess he'd be your bench guy. My question to you is, would you want to add supplementary players to make this an even bigger deal, more of a blockbuster type? Maybe you're getting Lillard and Nurkic and you're offering back Pascal Siakam and, I don't know, Chris Boucher or Fred VanVleet, the second best player on the Raptors, for example.
Yeah, I feel like a 3-team deal would have to be the case if there's, because it doesn't make sense to have Trent on a big contract, Fred and Damian Lillard on that squad. You're literally structured like the Portland Trailblazers were for all those years, with Fred sort of replacing McCollum, even though I like Fred as a player a little bit more, and then Trent, who was literally a Portland Trailblazer, with Damian Lillard there. So that's but again, we do have OG in the front court. We do have Chris Boucher. You're keeping those players, which I think is a step up over what Portland has had in those years, especially OG Anunoby. He's better than any wing player that Portland's had. Melo, Covington, all those guys. So maybe that's your third piece that could push you to the top. But even Portland, if they were inserted in the Eastern Conference, I think they'd be given a lot more credit for playoff runs that they'd have. So that's I still think the Damian Lillard one's a reach. But Bradley Beal, right? It's reported that he's looking to make a trade request. Obviously, people on Team USA were in his ear before he went off with health and safety protocols. It seems like the reports from the start of USA training camp were there's going to be a lot of super teams built. There's going to be a lot of players wanting to play with each other, move, and demand trades. So if Beal was influenced by, the snake KD whispering in his ear, and the Raptors could slide in and make a quick trade for Beal, would you be willing to add Siakam to that deal, even if the fit isn't ideal?
I have to think long and hard about this one. because the answer is not a definite yes.
Yep.
Right? You've seen what Bradley Beal can do on a bad team. It's miss the playoffs and then
Yep.
squeak into the play-in tournament.
Yep.
So I don't have a reason to believe that trading away Pascal Siakam, putting Chris Boucher into the starting 4 role, and then still not knowing who we're going to have as a starting center next season, I'm not guaranteed that bringing in Bradley Beal makes that team any better than just having Pascal Siakam around. So I'm unsure. I think it would have to be a 3-team trade, like you mentioned before, where you're getting back a big man as well.
Yeah, I just don't see the Bradley Beal thing working, right? Maybe I look at Siakam still a very valuable asset. So I sure Bradley Beal's the better player right now, but fit-wise, Siakam's just another level with this team. He won a championship with the Raptors, and you'd trade value-wise right now, Beal is significantly ahead of Siakam. So would it be Siakam and Trent for Bradley Beal? Like I'm not adding a guy like that into a package for Bradley Beal.
No, I cringed really hard when you mentioned a second player just for one player in return. If you're trading Pascal Siakam, that's your dollar, I guess, but you want multiple pieces back. I don't know. I just, I'm in the same boat as you. I don't think trade Beal is the move. Sorry. I don't know. I'd love to have Beal. We've talked about him for like 2 years on this podcast, but if you don't have a big man to play around him, then it's just no point.
Yeah, that's So I know the Beal talk is going to be amplified, especially once the trade request officially comes, if that's the case. And obviously we're making this video under the assumption this report's legit, which we probably should have prefaced earlier in this podcast. But again, maybe this isn't going to be super hashed out. Masai Ujiri's going to diminish all these reports, all these rumors and stuff, but it is an official report. So yeah, throw it up on the screen before you get roasted again. But that's from Yahoo Sports.
Ben, this is what I would trade for Beal, though.
Okay.
Just before we move on,
Yep.
I was just thinking about it in my head. Fred VanVleet.
Okay.
Chris Boucher.
Okay.
And our 4th pick.
Fred and 4 for Beal?
Mm-hmm.
And then
I also added Chris Boucher, so
we keep Lowry too. Oh, I don't do that. Beal is good. Though. Beal is good.
Beal is magnitudes better than Fred, but I guess
the
losing the
4th pick and Boucher.
And Boucher. I don't see them only doing it for Fred in the 4th, though. That's the thing.
Yeah. No, I see where you're coming from, but I'd have to sleep on it. I'd have to think about it, because we're definitely giving up more value, but the same analogy we use in every video. You want those stars, and then maybe you keep Lowry at that point. Lowry, Beal, OG, Siakam, and then whatever 5 you can scrounge up in the free agency, maybe with a 2nd round pick or something. Kevin Birch could be there. That's a really nice sort of core you're rocking with. So I see what you're saying, but Fred VanVleet, I think he's at it in every trade we talk about, and I feel like we're just undervaluing him at this point. So I feel bad that Fred's in all these deals. Riker, I'm going to sound off just a few teams that we can fly through, right? Names of players that maybe could be attached to a Siakam package, and I want to get our thoughts on them rapid fire, all right? You ready for this?
No, because I think my mic cut out, so...
Your mic's cut out? No, it's coming through. The audio's coming through.
It's switched up, though. It switched from my mic into the thing. Anyways, it'll be decreased audio quality, but go for it.
Okay, the Walmart mic is back, but what are your thoughts on Siakam for Stinky Pinky and some assets?
Absolutely not.
No? You're saying big no on that?
Yeah, okay. Definitely.
I'm in agreement. Ben Simmons.
No. I would trade Fred for Ben Simmons, maybe, and put him at the 5. Everybody hates this take, but that was sort of our best case scenario. But I think Ben Simmons is worse than Pascal Siakam right now.
I completely agree with you there. And would you accept Simmons, Matisse, and Maxey?
That's a good return, but no, you'd still say no, because Pascal Siakam was legitimate. Yeah, he was the legitimate second option on a championship team. Like, they're giving him no credit for having one bad season. So he still has more value and a pretty good ceiling as well compared to Ben Simmons. So.
Completely agree with you there. Rudy Gobert and Bogdanovic. You're accepting that?
Maybe.
Ooh.
Maybe.
Really?
Yeah, because now you become like one of the best defensive teams in the NBA. OG, Rudy Gobert, Fred VanVleet.
But we saw what happened with Rudy Gobert in the playoffs, and his contract is an albatross. It's gigantic. It's, you know, you look at it and your eyes bleed, right? So maybe if you draft Scotty Barnes, you could run him at the. Ooh, though, just thinking about that. Fred, Trent, OG, Barnes, and Gobert. That could be the best defensive team of all time.
That's what I'm saying.
But in the playoffs, it might get messy, and Barnes and Gobert might not be the ideal shooters. I don't know. I got myself hyped about this. I immediately didn't like it when I concocted it, but it's not the best look. Riker's fooling around with the Walmart mic right now. How's it coming?
It's terrible.
It is what it is. But we're deep into this video. I guess the last one I'll throw out there is the Sacramento Kings. They've been in a bunch of trade rumors. De'Aaron Fox and Marvin Bagley for Pascal Siakam.
I think this makes De'Aaron Fox, Marvin Bagley for Siakam.
Mm-hmm.
No, because you're bringing in more guards.
Yeah.
You're bringing in just point guards, and we already have Malachi Flynn, Fred VanVleet, maybe Suggs, then De'Aaron Fox. That would be a mess.
Yeah, that would be a mess. I don't know. We're just sounding off on these rapid fire takes. Got the Walmart mic. It's making its return. The Zoom made it happen in the last video, so we apologize for that. But you guys are the best for making this far. Let us know your thoughts on this Pascal Siakam news. Big stuff is coming for the Toronto Raptors. Whether it's a swing and a miss, a swing and a hit, we actually get trades, or it's just a lot of talk. We'll see what happens, but stay tuned to Raptors Digest. Subscribe to Raptors Digest. This is the funnest time of year to subscribe to our channel, especially with Ryker frozen on the screen. It's got a cute little pose there, you know, getting that vibes. But you're the best. Check out the Instagram, the TikTok, all that cool stuff. Ryker, do you have any last words on Pascal Siakam getting traded?
No. Cheers.